Hello, welcome to my channel where I help you and others find the light within through channeled messages or through my own human experience or whatever that might be. Today I'm just playing around with my oracle cards and I thought this would be a great channeled message for whoever needs it. I don't read tarot, but I do pull my own oracle cards on a almost daily basis, just kind of to start my day sometimes, or just kind of, whatever message I need to hear. I like to get it from the cards, and I like to channel the energy for my day using these cards. So before I started recording, because I was debating if I was even going to be recording, and mind you, this is just me trying something out. Before I hit record, I was shuffling and a card came out, and the card was inspiration. And I didn't really get to look at the image on the card, but just the word alone makes me feel as though there are a lot of people that are debating whether or not to dive deep into something. And for me, this, no better time than the present, right? You don't need to have all of the answers to get started. And this is something that I talk about a lot when I am helping others with their businesses or when I'm just talking to friends. You don't necessarily need all of the things to get started. For example, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to start a business, but I need to purchase my website domain first, or I need to make sure the social media handle is available, or I need to make sure I go get a business bank account. No, all of those things can come after you've gotten started. And I think a lot of people feel as though, that sort of thing is what holds people back from never getting started. And so I feel like, with inspiration being the main theme of today, is just kind of whatever that little spark is that made you think about the idea that you've been pondering for months, weeks, years, days, whatever the case is, and you've come across something that reminded you of that. It's a sign that it's time to just go ahead and get started. Even if it's not, I'm not saying everyone's trying to start a business, but I think even if it's something like you want to change jobs, I am not telling you to quit your job today, but if it's something where you're trying to make a huge shift in your, having your quarter life crisis, your midlife crisis, whatever it is, but you are called to do something and you're trying to make a shift into that, go ahead and start taking the necessary steps. You don't have to have everything right now in order to begin the process, because what you'll find is as you're on this path towards what it is that you truly want, whether it is you want to become a full-time painter, you want to be a full-time artist, a singer, if you want to start a business, or if you want to go back to school, what steps are you taking today to get there? And the inspiration piece is just that there are little things around you that are pushing you and nudging you in that direction and telling you hey, you don't need everything to get started, just go ahead and get started. And I have this play card here, and what this tells me is that it's going to be subtle things that remind you of what it is that you're being called to do, and it's just gonna be fun. The journey is gonna be a good one. It's like you're gonna be a kid again. When we're kids, we're so curious and we're just playful and just energetic and so optimistic about life because the possibilities are truly endless. When we're children, we tend to do things without thinking twice. So as we grow older, we have this layer of fear or this layer of apprehension that holds us back from what I have here is the truth card. And so what I feel is that as we get older, we tend to blind ourselves from the truth because of what other people tell us is right, or because of what we have told ourselves is right, which isn't actually most of the time aligned with what it is that we truly want. And on my channel, it's all about finding the light within. As we get older, we tend to darken this light. We need to get back to the flame. I'm not really sure exactly what this card means, but that's just how I'm reading it intuitively, is that we need to start playing again to get back to that childlike mentality that we had about life before things started to overshadow that. And the way that we're going to do that is through, I have this meditation card here. Whether you actually meditate or not, I made a video about how to get started with that, but meditation is usually the first step that people take into their spiritual journey, because once they begin to meditate, it's usually when in the beginning you've probably never had a time where you were just sitting in silence and allowing your thoughts. Yes, your thoughts are going to come a million miles per second, but the more often that you do it, the more you'll find that you're able to sit in the stillness and find the answers that you need to then move on to that next step, or follow that inspiration that's been burning inside of you, the truth, to go towards the truth that's been burning inside of you. I think that once you begin to meditate, or even if it's listening to frequencies, or as I've mentioned before, changing your diet, if that's something that you've been meaning to do and you're feeling as though the clarity is not coming in, you don't have the confidence, you're kind of fearful. A lot of the times when you just cleanse your body, and I'm speaking about diet in particular, but a lot of the times when you cleanse your body, you'll find that you are able to have clearer thoughts and you move forward with a lot more confidence and determination, versus when you're bogged down with with toxins and that sort of thing, whether it's toxic thoughts or toxins in your body or just being in a toxic environment. Doing that meditation will allow you to, first of all, figure it out exactly what it is that you want. How can you utilize this inspiration and act on it so that you can then get back to the truth, or finding the light within, or getting on that path to find that light. And with this relationship card here, so I also have relationships. I don't know if it's focusing. Yeah, there we go. I think, okay. With this relationship card, it's telling me that there are people that you already know that are willing and able to help you out on whatever it is that you're looking to do. I'm feeling a lot of artistic energy. Like, I feel like I'm speaking directly to someone who is wanting to go out on a limb with their art. I don't know what kind of art that is. It could be music, it could be painting, as I mentioned before, it could be writing. I honestly am just talking to myself, really, because I've been thinking a lot about what projects that I want to be working on, and a lot of them have to do with writing and expressing my creativity through video and through editing, which are some of my passions that I used to have when I was a kid. But then as I grew up, I was told, you'll never make any money doing that, or, you don't have to go to school for that, because you can just, and mind you, all I wanted to do was leave my house when I was younger to go to school. So hearing that you don't have to go to school for that, I was like, nope, I'm going to be a lawyer. Or I'm going to be a doctor, because I want to be in school and I want to be far away from this house as far as possible. But my truth has always been this creative expression that I've always wanted to share with the world. And it mainly has to do with me sharing the way that I see the world through my eyes with others, because we don't all see the world the same way. And this is another reason why relationships are so important. And it's really interesting to me because I've talked about both of these, meditation and relationships, here on my channel already, and why those are so important. But through our relationships, we want to make sure that we are, well, first of all, like I mentioned before, there are people already around you that are willing and able to help you out on this next chapter in your life, wherever you're wanting to do, whatever you're wanting to do, whether it's someone who you may not have looked at as a mentor. It could be a friend, it could be some older person in your corner who's willing and able to teach you what you need to know. There's also YouTube. That's kind of where I consider my first university was YouTube. There are, your parents, if you're lucky enough to have parents that are willing to help you out on this next chapter. I would turn to them. If you have a spouse, children are some of the greatest teachers, because one, they're unfiltered, and two, they have that playful energy that sometimes you'll hear children speak and you're just like, wow, where did that idea come from? And it's because they're unfiltered. They don't have that the darkness that is usually what surrounds us as we get older, and we kind of dim our light and forget about our truth and what it is that we had that burning passion and sensation for coming into this planet, is usually what we end up going back to if we're lucky in this lifetime. The next thing about relationships that I wanted to mention was just to make sure that you're surrounded by people who are supporting you. I'm currently doing this 12-week program, not AA, but I'm doing a 12-week creative program, and it's called The Artist Way, and it's what's helping me write my, I'm not really sure if I'm going to write a book or if I'm going to create some sort of mini movie, documentary, whatever the case is, but the whole point of this is to help me kind of remove blockages to complete whatever the project is that I want to complete. Currently I'm on week 3, so I have quite a bit of ways to go. But with this program, it talks about these people called the crazy makers, and these crazy makers are typically people who you love and you adore, and a lot of the times they'll be your friends or your family members. However, they are people who take up a lot of your time and don't necessarily add to your life in any way. But because you have that passion, that love for them, and familiarity or just comfortability, you allow them to take up a lot of your time when you could be spending it doing more creative projects or whatever the case might be. And so these crazy makers are usually other people who are blocked themselves, and they don't necessarily realize it. So when you share your ideas with them, they're kind of just like, oh, that's cool, but you'll never be able to do that. Like, those subtle comments from the people that you associate with can be detrimental to your success and can be what's blocking you, or this little hole in between you going over to your truth. And so during your meditation, whatever practice you choose, during your exercise regime that you've set for yourself, or during your diet that you've decided that you're going to do for the next X amount of months, you want to make sure that you are limiting the amount of contact that you have with those sort of people, because you only want people in your environment and around you that are going to support you and get you to that next level, and they're going to be encouraging you to have these childlike thoughts and feelings when you approach what it is that you want to do. So I really like this. And I did not know that I was going to be able to read these so well, especially on camera, because I've never done that before. Like I said, if you're listening to this, I know that it's something that you needed to hear. Comment down below if this resonates with you, or if you like this, because I can definitely see myself doing more of these, and I really, really enjoy it. Just maybe like once a week or so, just to get the general energy, to provide any words of wisdom. I'm reading a book right now by Eckhart Tolle, and it's called The Power of Now, and it's all about being present. And I was running yesterday, and I was listening to this book on audio, and there was one sentence that he said that really got me, and it was, I'm gonna paraphrase because I can't remember the exact words, but he says, I am not another being, I am you talking to you, because we are all one consciousness, and because I found this message, it's essentially me talking to me, right? And following that sentence, he says, the teacher and the student together are the lesson. So I'm gonna try to find that quote in the book, but essentially what he's saying is that this is a message that you are telling yourself. And I'll leave it at that, whatever that means to you. All right, I'm gonna pull one last card to kind of finish this all out. Let's see. This was really fun, by the way. I watch a lot of tarot readers on YouTube, well, at least I used to, and I always wondered how they were able to speak to such large audiences and have it resonate with so many people. But that quote that I just mentioned by Eckhart Tolle makes a lot of sense, because people come across those messages because it's just themselves talking to themselves. We're all just one consciousness talking to the other, and when you start to see life that way, you start to treat others differently, better, hopefully. You start to look at life in a much different lens. You start to understand other people's stories a lot more, because you understand that their story is now is also your story, even if in this lifetime you may not have experienced half of the things that they've experienced. But once you start to understand that we are all one consciousness, and it gets a little bit deeper than that, but you'll start to see. And this is self-mastery. So this is the last thing that I pulled out. It won't. Okay. All right. I don't know if it's gonna focus, but this is so interesting because, as I mentioned earlier about the chakras and how I myself, when I started on my own spiritual journey, I started with my root chakra. I may not have mentioned it in this video, but I talked about how, for me, I started off with financial literacy and teaching others how to do that, because I understood that a lot of us are just in survival mode. And I think that a lot of the times we forget about our truth because we get stuck in this survival mode, not really recognizing that there is so much more out there that we can be doing. And the fact that our basic needs are food, shelter, and safety, we becoming more sustainable should be like our number one priority, so that all of our basic needs are met, because a lot of the times people are stuck in their root chakra, and it removes that playful energy. But the way that we can get there is through meditation and surrounding ourselves with the right individuals, because otherwise we'll never achieve the most basic level of self-mastery, which is to achieve this security, this level of safety, which is everything that our root chakra is about. Your root chakra controls the messages that your upper chakras receive, and so you want to make sure that this is in alignment. And the way that you know that you're out of alignment is if you're super anxious, restless, lazy, and a lot of the times this is the main blockage point for us not going after what it is that we want. And so it's hard for us to follow through on those inspirational moments that we have and in leading us towards what we want to do. So a good way to balance your root chakra, other than meditation, long walks, walking barefoot, fresh sunlight, fresh air, being outside and one with nature, to help you clear your mind in order to allow those messages to come in and for you to receive them in a way that's not dampened by fear or frustration or anger or anxiety. Another way to balance this is through light exercise and maybe even some yoga, which I think is a great way to help you with all of your chakras and not just the root chakra. Self-mastery, if I have to leave you with any message, is to focus on realigning yourself so that you can then go within and find the light and the truth And hopefully you're doing this from a place of playfulness, as if you were a child.